Trust. I've always heard that it was beautiful, piecing together relationships and bonding loved ones, but this isn't always true. Trust sometimes can be used as a weapon, raising the hopes of its victims and then tearing them down with no warning. My story is that of a young girl with high hopes and low expectations. At the time, my mother and I were hiding from her second ex-husband. He had followed and harassed us prior to our moving out, landing us in a small townhouse which suited our needs nicely. I had been promised that because of our new address, numbers, and emails, that I would never have to see that man again. One autumn afternoon, I had just gotten out of my father's car, arriving back at my mother's house after another week of joint custody. The only negative about living two different lives are the things that you miss while you're away. I carried my bags to the front door and rang the bell. My mother answered in a quiet, reserved manner, but I suspected nothing, so I walked inside as usual. Gaze rising to greet my grandmother, I locked eyes with those of a strange man. No, he was no stranger. I knew exactly who he was. The same man that I was promised would be out of my life forever. Staring blankly at the back wall, I froze. I was paralyzed. I couldn't move, not knowing what to do, what to think, what to say. I found myself running without direction. Soon enough, I was upstairs in my room. I closed the door behind me, but I heard footsteps following close behind. It was my mother, coming to comfort me, or so I thought. She opened the door, looked me straight in the eyes, and demanded my presence downstairs. I was confused, lost, but much too afraid to cry. Whatever it was that possessed me in that very moment, it consumed my entire body and soul. Again, I was tripping over myself, walking without control, and I don't know how, but I did it. I walked right into that room, sat down, and stared directly into the eyes of my greatest fear. There were conversations about everything and nothing at the same time, what seemed like hours of my life wasted. And as if the emotional storm of that evening wasn't enough, I heard the faint tapping of raindrops against the roof. The night seemed as though it would never end. He stayed for dinner. We talked endlessly until the moment when he rose, wiped his face, and walked towards the front door. Turning around, he spoke 3 heart-wrenching words. "Pack your bags." They were directed towards me, commanding me to leave my entire life behind and move back in with him. For the second time that night, I stopped dead in my tracks, but this time I did cry. Locking myself in a closet, I sat on the floor as one tear led to 100, 500, 1,000 more, and my silent cries for help became wails, sobs, and prayers to the only one I thought could hear me. It seemed as though hours had passed, and I finally came to the realization that there was absolutely nothing I could do. So I got up, once more, packed, did as he said, and got in the car. We headed back to his house, a place full of memories that haunt my dreams to this day. We lived in that house for all of 2 months after that very night. My mother finally realized what I had known all along, that people don't change. What I learned to never trust anyone until they give you a reason to, because there are those out in this world searching for another victim, using naivety and trust for their main purpose, to break your heart.